6:13. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 24th, 2017.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 24th, 2017, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Additions and deletions we need to add under correspondence, Grace Cottage Community Wellness. Is there anything else that needs to be added or subtracted from the agenda?
Probably members of the public, but.
Well, just on the outside chance, let's leave it for the time being.
Don't maybe subtract that. Was there anything else to add? I don't think so.
Okay,
And that's the
then,
community wellness scheduling?
yes.
Yeah.
Let's see, let's go ahead and start on the warrants then for tonight. I don't know who hasn't, you haven't.
I do. I'd love to do.
Okay,
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 1, payroll, in the amount of $8,517.82.
is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I would just like to note that I think the payroll is significantly high. I think the hours are way higher than that. But that's all.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 1 in the amount of $8,517.82 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
General maintenance, right?
Pardon?
General maintenance?
No, that was payroll.
Yeah, but for general maintenance, I mean for everything but the highway.
No, that is highway too.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all those in favor, I lost
Yeah.
track where I was. All those in favor of payroll warrant number 1 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2 in the amount of $2,742.88.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll tax warrant number 2 in the amount of $2,742.88 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 3 out of the payroll in the amount of $9,897.57.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Just want to note that payroll is $1,400 more than the last one.
My same issue with this week as the previous week.
Okay.
The next one is gonna be better yet.
So, is there any other discussion on that payroll warrant? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 3 in the amount of $9,897.57 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 4, taxes, income tax, $4,118.88.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll tax warrant number 4 in the amount of $4,118.88 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 5 out of the general fund in the amount of $2,709.24.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? I just want to note that one of these 3 tax warrants that were, this one and to the 2 previous ones, one of them is for a payroll that you all passed but must have missed the taxes on.
Oh, okay.
So we're picking it up, that's why there's 3 tax warrants instead, and only 2 payroll warrants, just FYI. So, all those in favor then of paying payroll tax warrant number 5 in the amount of $2,709.24 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 6 out of the general fund in the amount of $4,875.86.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 6 in the amount of $4,875.86 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 7 out of the general fund in the amount of $5,865.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 7 in the amount of $5,865 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the highway in the amount of $10,725.02.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 8 in the amount of $10,725.02 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Gone.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 9 out of the highway in the amount of $2,029.43.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Want this higher one?
Yep, this one keeps going down. I'm gonna be below the table before we go home.
Pretty quick, you
Yeah, I was going.
There's a leaky chair.
Rest your chin on the table.
Okay, where were we?
9.
Yep, have I asked for any discussion? Or has it been read?
It was just read, you've asked for discussion?
None, okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 9 in the amount of $2,029.43 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
I'd say.
Oh. Let me see the warrant.
It's just sand and uniforms.
Make sure you got 3 signatures then.
It's got 3 signatures.
You tell them to take the sand back or the uniforms?
Find the lost
Take 'em
jacket. Okay. We had two yes, 1 abstention, and the chair is not.
I mean, I'm voting for it in the sense that what are we gonna do about the uniform? I mean, we're gonna make them find it?
That'd be nice, but,
Spring.
Taxpayer shouldn't cover it.
Right.
Yeah, but in the labor law book, it says, you know, Article 55, verse 13, Section 4.
okay, I'll vote in the affirmative and pass it. All right. So the motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 10 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $8,535.34.
Is there a second? No second. Motion fails for lack of a second.
I don't know, that's a lot of checks Joe doesn't have to sign tomorrow if it fails.
Is there something specific in that warrant that we don't want to sign? In other words, can we cherry pick what is in there that we don't like?
Is anything prepaid? Look at that first. I doubt prepaid.
I don't see, yeah, it'll be on this one.
Right, you'd see a check number. That in that far column, you'd see a check
No,
number.
it doesn't appear.
Okay, just,
No,
okay. That's the first thing to look at.
no, none of these have gone out yet.
So if there's something you don't like, that's the better.
We can subtract it from, if there's something specific that you don't like, we can subtract it from the amount so that we don't hold up the whole warrant.
This one works except for the 3 button.
Is there anything specific?
I mean, my big thing is when's the last time we got chains for the trucks?
I can tell you.
Because it seems like I've heard on a number of occasions that the chains just aren't being properly taken care of.
Should we guess?
How long should a chain last? I mean, I guess,
Matters how much you use it.
One storm.
We seem to only get about a week out of it if the trucks are out. They don't last very long.
a week still seems like a crazy short amount of time.
I don't know that much about it to actually weigh in on that. I do know that we've been questioned over and over and over. We've asked the question, and we're told that we buy the best chains so that they last the most amount of time, but we buy a lot of sets of chains over every winter. I mean, Irv, you ran them for enough years. How many sets of chains should we be using?
I'll probably, I might have 5 sets during the winter.
For a whole year for 3
For 2
trucks? 2 trucks. So essentially, 2 chains for each truck plus an extra
2
set.
pairs. And I always try to keep a spare one in
Right.
case something happens.
Right.
So you know, you multiply that.
But I didn't run them 24/7.
It sounds like that might be part of the issue.
That is part of the issue.
That's one of the big things.
Running them at high speed on
On
asphalt.
tar, yeah.
But hell, my plow truck, unless there was snow on the road, he wouldn't run chains from Midwest Townsend. He put them on a fire.
Mhm.
You can't find any good help anymore.
Summer help.
Oh,
Some iron, some iron.
no, I'm not gonna comment.
How you hitting them back there?
Good.
Well, but we also ended up last year with chains that were bought late that we started this season with, so it's hard to say how many chains actually been used this year. You know, they had, was it 5 sets?
I don't know.
We went
They
round and
ordered
round and round
Way
with
too
that.
many last year, so.
That we started this season with, and there's been chains ordered this year, and I have no idea how many sets of chains.
Right, I think this leads to the bigger issue of having some sort of semblance of accounting within the highway department as to what we're using, when we're using it, so that we can, as the board, look back and say, wow, 10 sets of chains seems like a lot, or 10 sets of chains sounds like a lot, but it's really about what we normally do.
But they don't
We
remember.
now get them from Chappelle, but we've also gotten other stuff from Chappelle, so you wanna look at the current dates on that. And that's B&B for the last, that goes back to 13, so you just want to the last
Okay,
year.
so there's 17, so from no, that's wrong there, let's get the right one. Okay, so April, that's $40,
So you get dates on here, so just,
So
we
12
don't want 2012 or 13 or
Right.
whatever, so
Right,
it's-
right.
that'd do
So-
17, 16, that'd be 15 or something.
December 13th, 2016, we bought 4 sets of chains at $1,200 a set.
Did that much?
No, there should be about 400 set.
Well, then what's, doesn't that
Yeah,
say
I
$1,200?
$11.97, yeah.
For truck 8, truck 3, truck 1, truck 9, $1,200 a set.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would be-
One set.
That would be 3 sets for each truck.
Okay, well, that's your answer.
And last spring, on the 6th
That's right,
one,
they do dual wheels, don't they?
So yeah, I have last spring, 6-1.
Set was 2 rear wheels.
Yeah,
One
he's-
for each one.
He's running them on the front, too.
Yeah, well, that's on that new slip. That's a single.
Well, anyway, we ordered them in December. And then they were ordered again for two of the trucks, 3 of the trucks.
those break down.
Just now, it must be this
Okay.
warrant, 217.
I have one for June.
Yeah, that was one that got held back. He ordered in March because they were a good deal. So we ordered a bunch of them in March for this fall, so we'd be able to get to Christmas or something.
Yeah, it's
And the
10
board,
sets.
and the board didn't pay it for a long time. That just carried for week after week after week.
Oh,
That was another one that we ordered in January or something that the board didn't approve for week after week because we had bought them in the fall. And it seemed like they were going too fast.
So in other words, where we are right now, we ordered the middle of December and we ordered again the middle of February for the same trucks.
What's the recent ones you have on there? Well,
the most recent I have are the June,
just June.
yeah,
10
of
sets.
16, yeah, 10 sets.
Yeah.
So that answers the question on chains.
So I guess the question is, if we're buying the best chains so they last the longest, why don't we buy cheap chains, because they're not lasting anyway?
And that was an issue that came up, and I got knocked down on that, because I could buy chains free freight out of the West Coast for literally half the price. Now, so if you're only gonna use them for one storm or two storms, or, a week and a half or something.
Right.
Why don't we buy cheap ones and put them in the junk pile?
Right, like
Instead
if
of-
we're gonna treat them as disposable, then let's,
These are P-Wag chains, these come from Austria.
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's freight involved. I mean, not that we're getting them from Austria, but we're getting them from there.
Right.
But I mean, they're made in
But
Austria.
yeah, it's built into the price.
Right. So,
So,
anyway,
what would you like to do with it? And we're going to address the highway issues. There's
Okay.
multiple highway issues. So if we want to address the oversight at that point in time, that would be great. Right now, is there anything in that warrant specifically that we want to pull out of there?
I don't have it, my one thing was the chains. I mean, they've already been ordered, is that correct?
This
Yeah.
goes back to what I said before about the RFP, request for purchase. And if we had that, we would have gotten some sort of a notification that there was a request to buy the chains. But we bypassed that again and again and again and again and again. So, here we are.
Well, again, I ask.
I mean, I'm all for paying the warrant as written, but I think RFP is something that definitely should be addressed.
well, and Kurt does tell me, I mean, he calls up and says, I have to have change. It's like sand and salt, what am I gonna say? I mean, there's not much I can do about it, and, I don't know if he did on this last batch or not, but it's like tires for the trucks, you need tires for the trucks, you get a flat constantly or whatever else. You're gonna end up with tires in the board.
Speaking of tires, did we ever get that wheel back? The aluminum
He said he
wheel?
did, but I don't know where it is. I haven't gone looking forward to seeing it. He said he got it. But that's an issue I gotta address with Pete's, because they charge us recycling for the rim. You don't wanna pay $10 to recycle a rim if you brought the rim home.
And then you have 30.
Yeah. But in any case, I mean, Kurt does get called. I don't get RFPs per se on big ticket items. This is standard maintenance issue. This is policy driven, not a materials and supplies. It's not a one-off, need a new tool to pull a wheel kind of thing. This is a pretty standard bread and butter issue. But chains we go through a lot of. And I think, as Earl was saying, I mean, they're running on blacktop pretty constantly.
Yeah, you would figure that'd wear them out.
I mean, I see, not to make it, I see trucks going up to Michael Charles for deliveries and stuff. The guy stops the truck and
Puts chains on.
rolls the chains out on the ground, drives over them, hooks them up, goes up there, brings it back down, and takes them off when he gets back. Kind of thing, when he gets back on the main road. That having been said, I mean, I don't know that that's necessary for all that. But if you're going out to do dirt roads, you can drive the chains out from.
Next time he's out there putting chains on, ask him if he needs a job.
Okay, so we want to start all over again on this number 10 warrant?
Let's see, number 10. I don't have a second yet.
We've got the damn thing, we ain't got much choice,
Right.
Exactly.
but we gotta address it.
I don't
Yeah, I
disagree.
agree.
So, that was on the other side.
I didn't even look at that. I assume that's a lot of sand and salt there too.
No, I think something said
Well, we get 10.
They were separated.
this
Yeah.
is separate.
Okay.
Separate warrant.
All right.
All right, so let's try this again. All those in favor?
You need a second.
I thought, we didn't have a second, did we? Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, now we have a second. Is there any discussion? God, no. All right.
Gotta put the cart before the horse on that, didn't we?
Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway equipment warrant number 10 in the amount of $8,535.34 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. All right, so 11.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 11 out of the equipment fund and $147.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is the one where we're replacing a lost jacket, which irritates me.
No.
Yeah, that was the last
This
one, I
is
think.
This is
a spring slide and wing lube.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
out of Georgia.
Out of Georgia.
They use a lot of
Okay.
it down there.
Hold on.
Well, they have a lot of it because they don't use it.
Is there any, is there any discussion?
It's spray grease.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant number 11 in the amount of $147 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Rob, you didn't vote.
Oh, aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, that's enough of that stuff. Report.
How much was that altogether?
It was $60,164.04.
Okay, just curious.
Okay, now we're to the highway. And since we don't have a foreman, again, let's discuss some of the issues that we just saw in the warrants and how we'd like to address them. You have to have somebody to talk to about them.
Right. Well, yeah, and the person you talk to has to be willing to supervise
So what's,
and be accountable.
so what would you like to do about it? Because as I said earlier, one of my issues is the fact that we have brought on a fourth member to the highway department that's been hired as per diem labor.
And he has become de facto part-time.
He is pushing full-time according to our policy. And
Okay.
that bothers me because at 24 to 25 hours, at 28 is what the policy identifies as full-time.
Oh, okay.
And we need to figure out whether or not we hired a fourth employee for the highway department, is first of all.
Right.
And second of all, if we are going to let this happen, then why aren't we seeing additional work product? For example, cleaning the walkways to the town hall or the sidewalks or whatever.
Or even that, at least a mitigation of the
The
outrageous
hours.
overtime.
Yeah.
The way the personnel policy reads, I believe they're supposed to have a physical before they even start.
Supposed to have a physical before you start, you're supposed to have something done when you have an accident.
Well,
You're supposed to, I mean, there are things that are in the queue.
I could see if it was a one-time deal, something happened that, that they needed somebody right in a hurry, but not time to time.
Right now, week after
Well,
week.
there was an effort, this a number of years ago, to line up people around town who had their CDLs, loggers, whoever, in case there was an emergency or, whatever.
Right.
So that you could call on people, you had a, kind of a call chain. You would call on people, but we would have all of them on record, we'd know who they were and how we're, you know what I mean.
They'd be vetted.
They
ahead
would
of
be
time.
vetted in advance, basically.
But who said
That was for emergency management purposes, but it was to dovetail with the highway department so that if he needed a fourth guy, there would be a number of people that he could call. For whatever, somebody gets sick, somebody's out with an injury, something like that. You're gonna need a third person or maybe a fourth on certain occasions. We've had some big snows, you do need maybe that fourth person. That said, that's something that the board needs to be aware of, know who it is, and when the first payroll came around, we didn't have the paperwork to make it happen, and I have no records. And it's not on a worksheet that the foreman is signing off on either, which is kind of a
25 hours.
25, I just did a guess, so. That was just last week, but that's,
And again, that's not like we've had any active discussion about
No.
bringing on another employee. And until recently, the storms were not of such magnitude that I would have thought they would have been overwhelming.
Right.
I mean, some of these storms have been pretty small that we've clocked.
I mean, sure,
under.
there's been some ice, so there's additional salt sanding.
well,
but
some of
we
these
haven't
days, some of these days are 12, 14 hours a day. I mean,
Yeah.
they're out 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I mean, they're starting early, and
Yeah.
some of the storms have lasted all day. And on regular days, they're in at 6, but the storm may not start until late morning or something,
Right.
and they're working into the evening.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't begrudge them working, getting paid when they work. I just feel like if we've gotten to a point where we now have a virtual fourth employee, the number of hours of overtime you would think would drop Or maybe they need to create a schedule where people are staggered. So we don't have everybody working all the time at the same time.
Well,
I think it's been suggested before.
do we have 4 trucks on the road, Craig?
Well, when you have that fourth person, yes.
So the person that's coming in as per diem labor is in fact driving the small truck because you don't need a CDL.
Right.
And then the other 3 are driving the big trucks.
And I can understand on occasion, you do need to clean out the fire ponds and you need to keep the firehouse open and all those things.
You need to clear out the town hall too.
Well-
How was that working?
Yeah.
Walkers and snow don't work, guarantee you. Yeah, I don't even wanna look at those, those would just make me mad. So again, I asked, what would you like to do about it? Do we want to request that Kurt meet with us? And not at his convenience, but when we, at ours?
I would like that.
feeling.
Yeah, I would like to have a meeting with Kurt. Let's put together an agenda to give to him so that he knows what we're gonna be talking about, and then let's talk about it and figure out some way to mitigate some of this. And even some of the equipment stuff just seems like careless spending.
Oh, that just makes me sick to my stomach. Okay, when would you like to do that? But we don't have too many more days left before town meeting. If
That's
we're going
true.
to have this discussion. And the weather's liable to cause all kinds of
Right.
hell with us. Trying to get him in here. Okay. So, today's the 14th. You cut up a lot. Yeah, you did. Why'd you take February out?
I did. You got February and March right there.
I don't.
60.
Yeah, March is on top.
60, I won't be able to make.
February has more than,
28.
yeah, I miss it here.
We're at the end of the.
I mean, here-
month.
See, he didn't give you the whole thing, did he?
They came off on January. Just throw
Wow, we're
stuff.
changing the calendar and everything.
Okay. So anyway,
There you go. Give me that one back. Yeah, February does have more than 25. That's too bad. Trying to get rid of
all right, so today's the 14th.
Does
The
that make
next-
spring come quicker?
The next,
I'm hoping.
the next meeting is going to be the 28th, but that's right before town meeting.
Right.
And that's liable to be, depending on what we decide, that's liable to be the
informational.
informational meeting for town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, I don't really care, next week's a booger for me, anyway you look at it, but.
Well, I'm
Somebody needs to look at the weather forecast to see what day it's not going to snow.
actually, I can give you 10 days. Oh, no, I can't.
You know, if we have a rough idea of when it's not going to snow.
I can't make that one.
Okay. And I can't make that one either.
Yeah, I can't do Thursdays. I can do any other day.
Well, do we wanna just pick a day next week? Oh, no, cause Monday's gonna be a holiday.
Daytime or nighttime? Because if it's before 2:30, there's a pretty good chance that he'll be around.
You think?
What about a week? Well, next Tuesday.
I can't do that, that's my risky meeting.
No, that's fine.
Gonna do next Wednesday.
Anytime except that one, but I know.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a holiday, and we've gotten into this with him multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna get it as a holiday, he's gonna end up working, he's gonna get paid
Yep.
time and a half for the holiday, and he's not gonna come here and play with us.
Yep.
So we may as well not even bother with the Monday.
Yes.
I can't do Tuesday, and somebody else said they could. So the 22nd,
Sure.
which is a Wednesday,
Yep.
can anybody meet during the day?
I could work that out.
I'll meet.
Well,
Hey,
my National Labor Law booklet says I'm available,
Oh yeah, cool. What time?
whatever. Early in the morning's the best.
Oh,
I mean,
Okay,
I'm not saying at 5, but
even so, it's,
After you feed the cows.
I have issues navigating at the moment, but that's okay, whatever time.
We can get a big truck to pick you up.
No, yeah, I could get a big orange and white one to pick me up too.
with flashing lights and a siren.
And a siren.
Yeah, but then won't New Fame bill us back for it?
No, not that one. I better not see a bill from them, period.
Oh, the truck, not the flying machine.
He's a flight.
Yeah.
No, I don't want the helicopter. We don't need that. So you want to do mid-morning?
Sure.
I mean, if worst comes to worst, we could meet out at the town garage. We can just corner him.
Never do a trouble with that, and you get the other employees.
Well, I understand you've got the other employees there. I mean, we could go and grab him and march his butt down here.
22nd?
Mid-morning's fine.
Okay, so can we notify Kirk
We can.
that we would like to speak to him
Man.
on the 27th or 22nd of February at,
8 o'clock?
no.
9 o'clock?
9's better.
We eat
8:30.
my second sandwich by 9 o'clock.
Well, you're on lunch. You're just
Second
early.
breakfast.
9 okay with you? It's at 9 o'clock.
9.
Here, there.
Where? Here?
Yeah.
Let's go up
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
And
you're
like-
really asking for
Let's
The only
just go right
trouble,
up.
problem is if it storms, it,
Yeah.
we'll have a
But
problem.
you'll know the day before, and we can
Yeah.
make a round of calls and.
I'm pretty sure in the 14 to 16 hours that he charges us, he probably could find a daylight in the schedule to.
Yeah,
meet
it
up
might be
with us.
able to.
Yeah.
So let's say 9 o'clock here,
Probably be here, and if you wanna go up there, you go up there. All right.
okay? Thank you.
Which one's the best?
Any and all of us if we have to. That may require that orange and white van with flashing lights, you know? All right, so if you would take care of that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Now, do you want to, just before you change subjects and I forget, in executive session, do you want to set up a little, or after the meeting, do you want to set up a little agenda of talking things that you guys want to handle? Because
Well,
you're probably
I-
not going to meet before the 22nd.
Yes.
and
Yes.
You should have a piece of paperwork so that
Yeah.
everybody's got a, okay.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
All right,
Well,
so-
somebody remind me after you adjourn.
So
Or
then,
something.
on the sidewalks, again, I think that should be part of the discussion we have. Is the highway department going to be responsible for taking care of the sidewalks? Since they have the equipment, they have the snow blower, they have the sanders, they have all the pieces out there at the garage. If they're not going to do it, then we're going to need to make some kind of arrangements, because we had a vote here where people couldn't get in, or that we had people out shoveling that shouldn't have been shoveling. We had a situation where I couldn't get in the building to a
That's the
select
day,
board
that's
meeting.
the day you need it, took a header.
Yeah, she fell twice.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
gonna,
she needs to put
Great
some better
problem.
boots on or something. to Take
if
care
you're out plowing snow, you can't stop here and shovel it.
But again, if you've got a fourth person on with a little
Well,
truck, there's
I
absolutely,
didn't, I'm not for the fourth person, that's what I'm getting at.
but there again, if there's somebody's out with that little truck, there's no reason they can't pop up in the sidewalk and clear it off.
Don't worry.
Done it?
You catch that concrete and pretty quick you have a broken plow and broken concrete.
Figures. Any way you look
Hire
at it,
Larry with a 624, he'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Fall winter.
pick it up and take his sidewalk and all.
Take it
Anyway,
along with it.
But we do need to take care of it, because this is getting just absolutely absurd. We had, and we're gonna get into this a little later, but somebody showed up on a Thursday when the building was closed, and nobody had touched the front walkway. And there's supposedly the hospital had contacted Vermont Homeland Security and had scheduled ICS 100 classes here without telling anybody.
Oh.
And there were people that showed up in the middle of that snowstorm they had snow that deep out front trying to get in the building.
First though, if Grace Cottage is scheduling things here, aren't they supposed to have it scheduled with somebody?
We're gonna deal
This
with
was,
that under the
this was probably through Department of Homeland Security. It was an ICS 100. Grace Cottage didn't put it on, but they were a participant in it. But they're the only ones that would have a key to the building. So they made the arrangements apparently to have it. I don't know, I haven't found out. But anyway, Grace Cottage was a participant in that. Anyway, it got canceled because of the heavy snows. But there were people in Brattleboro that didn't get the cancellation notice. They showed up here at 8 o'clock because the training session was from 8 to 5 on Thursday. They showed up at 8 o'clock, they couldn't get cell phones, so they couldn't get connected with anybody, so I looked up Vermont Homeland Security online, called Burlington, they were open, and they said, no, the meeting was canceled, and I'll let these people talk to those people, and then they left. But anyway, I had asked the day before during the Leland and Gray vote if anybody was gonna be in here on Thursday, because if this room is booked, it makes it really hard for me to work in there or in there, it depends on who it is and what they're doing and when they're gonna be here. But Anita told me that nobody was here, and on Friday, I confirmed it, Kathy confirmed, she had nothing in her calendar. So the building was basically booked for 12, 15 people for 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Thursday to have a session here. And presumably, since Grace Cottage Hospital has a key, they were gonna open it up. But it was presumptive of somebody to not clear it with Anita. And there are people, Elaine comes in, I come
Yeah,
in
but
on
don't we go
Thursday.
through this time in and time out with Grace Cottage when it comes to just all sorts of different things throughout?
It's the first time, it's the
Well,
first
how
time I
about
can
the
remember
roads
that.
we're talking about getting like a sheriff to watch the walks and all the other different
Yeah,
things that they
well,
do.
there's that too.
And permission to
coming
use
up.
the roads
That's coming
and
up.
all the, that's what I'm talking about, Craig.
Yeah, I
And this
agree
is
with that.
just another situation where it's just assumed that any sort of entity of the town is free game to Grace Cottage.
Well, and there was a,
Which, if that's the case, then it should be open to everybody.
Well,
we
there
should
was-
all be, we should have, just be able to have a big party on any day down here, or concert without it being scheduled, or a meeting, or anything.
Well, part of the notice that goes out is that even though the town clerk's office isn't open on Thursdays, the building is often used on Thursdays. I'm usually here all day Thursday. Elaine is occasionally here if she can come in, if she's, because her schedule flips from day to day sometimes. So, we do try to use the building. The listers have been here on Thursdays.
Yeah,
Like I
but I
said.
That isn't
thought,
real
that was
notice.
part of that deal with the town clerk, they were supposed to schedule it ahead of time, so
Oh, yeah,
there was no
and like I
conflict.
said,
That's
it hasn't-
exactly what my point is.
It
It's not
hasn't
about
happened.
it being used or not being used, it's about the schedule.
Right, I
And
agree.
if it's supposed to be scheduled for one person, it's supposed to be scheduled for every person, not just the select few.
I agree, and this is the first time I can remember that I haven't known about something, or she didn't know about it, that it was just something that she didn't have on the calendar, wasn't booked, never notified. But that one did come up, and that's, how do we get on that?
So
We got on it with the fact that the
Sidewalks.
sidewalks were not,
Sidewalks. Yeah.
Right,
plowed.
so you were having 12, 15, 16 people come up for a training session, emergency management training session. And the likelihood, it was a really cold, deep, dry snow, but there was
Yeah.
ice underneath all that. And you put your boot down, try to walk up the walk, and that snow would compress and you just slip out from it. I came in through the lawn, because you couldn't use the sidewalks. But anyway, yeah, the building, if it's open, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, should be plowed out. And I don't know how you do that in a small town where you don't have a lot of people looking for part-time work at whatever pay. But those days when you have a function that's scheduled, or if you're having a vote, as we did the day before, or if you have a publicly warned meeting, absolutely has to be. They're sanded and salted right now, but I wouldn't say they're good enough
Right.
for people who are older than me.
I'm younger than you, that doesn't count.
I wasn't looking.
No, you weren't.
I'm looking at Earth.
Uh-huh.
There we go. I'm looking at Joe.
Or-
you know what I mean.
They have physical challenges of any
and-
kind.
Right, and the handicap ramp often isn't very good at all.
Right.
Usually the sidewalk is passable somehow. But yeah, it's just one of those,
Yeah.
it's a winter thing.
But I think it's something that we should clear if we're going to sit and talk with Kurt.
No, see, the thing was.
And this select board was in court a year ago over
Yeah.
a slip and
But
fall
like I
case.
said, the select board had somebody clean the sidewalks when I was in. It was nothing to do with the highway.
Well, then why did Kurt suddenly take charge of not only the equipment, but,
Must be a big wheel.
well, there again, if you take it on, you have to do the job.
Oh, you gotta do your job.
Yeah, you bought it, you own it.
Well, again,
No,
it isn't,
I
it
didn't
isn't,
used to send them.
different job descriptions are not spelled out in the personnel policy, and I don't know what is intact for the highway foreman's job description, and he's taken on many things that I haven't seen get written down. Other things have been, pushed to the sidelines.
Well, but when we had the slip and fall case, again, we were working with the attorney. And during that time, the question was, for whom did he work? And it was very clear.
It was very clear.
That it, in fact, he worked for the highway department, the person that's cleaning the sidewalks. So, you know, the question becomes, is there something we want to do with it now, or is it something we want to talk to Kurt about? But it can't continue on the way it is.
Right.
And it is particularly tough, because every time the state goes by, they blow
Right.
snow off the road onto the sidewalk. So I mean, if you get them clean at 9 o'clock, they're not necessarily
They're not
gonna
gonna
be
stay
clean
that
at
way.
10 or 10:30.
Right.
But, even still, it is, people can drive the conditions, it's harder to walk the conditions. And again, on an average day, you take your risk. If you look and you can't get into the post office or the library or the town hall, then maybe you come back later. But on days in particular, when you have, the polls
Scheduled
are
event.
open, or you have a publicly warned meeting, or you have a function, as we apparently did on Thursday until it was canceled, then it is absolutely adamant that you make them as good as you possibly can. Because then you are,
I agree, 'cause
then
then-
you are
then
saying.
it's liability.
Well, you're saying.
You're saying we're open, come in.
Come on in.
Right.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
So, is that something we wanna kinda add to
I think we
the
should talk
talking
to
point?
Kurt.
Yeah, I think we should too.
Okay, so that'll be number one on the list, please.
You want the per diem first? Or the
We'll make,
We'll ease them into.
salt, the sand, which one you want?
I want to start with the sidewalks, because I couldn't get in there, and that made me mad.
Where the tire chains work?
No, that too. All right, so then moving on to law enforcement, I don't believe there was, well, there's
There was
been no
a-
communication.
there was a bill, I believe, that you just signed.
Yeah, there was the,
Something came in today, I think she typed it up.
state.
And we,
Yep.
did we get that contract sent back to the?
That contract, oh yeah, that was signed and sent back, and, we're good to go until June.
All right, you should have all
July 1st.
gotten, counter money from the town clerk. And the treasurer.
I'm not saying this is gonna be accurate, but don't know what I've
That's
got.
okay, let me show you the folder I got.
The combined sweep account and checking account is $921,626.75.
That's good. And you said you brought some in today.
Yep,
You know, you're doing a little overtime today there.
I did.
Yeah.
All right, are there any questions for the treasurer?
So we will have, let's see. Don't have a calendar anymore. Doesn't matter. We'll probably have the school warrants for this board at the next meeting, even though they won't be due. We'll post predate, whatever you call it, for sometime early in,
March?
before the second week in March they'll be due. We'll have this board sign them, just because you're all legitimate until town meeting, and we don't know where we're gonna be on Wednesday after town meeting. So we'll get those signed so that when the time comes, he can pay them on
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so
But the
post
tax
date
money,
money.
the end of
Right.
February tax money is coming in, so we'll just get that cleaned up, so a new board, or whatever that may be made up of, doesn't have to deal with that.
Okay, then the other issue that's come up recently is, as you recall, we decided to go with a payroll service.
Sage.
With Sage Payroll, yes. And we've come to find out that they cannot do the withholding for the Vermont municipal employees. Either
Why is
they
that?
cannot or will not. I'm not certain which it is.
It was a problem that we've had for a number of years, and there were ways around it, but it's very difficult and labor consuming to do it. The municipal employees calculation for 5 different employees that you have, 1 elected official and 4 employees, goes out to 3 or 4 places, and Sage only calculates to the nearest 2 places. So it's always off by a few cents, but when it's off by a few cents, the wage is off, the taxes are off.
Right.
And it's an accrual thing that no matter what you do with the payroll service, you've got to re-enter it in here. When
Right.
you re-enter the time, when you re-enter, somebody's entered a salary, when you re-enter,
Right.
somebody put in 40 hours at whatever time, whatever rate they make, it self-calculates. Now you've got to override. It doesn't like that. You end up with skewed warrants, and it just becomes a, well,
So
anyway.
it snowballs over time.
Right, we used them twice. We used them in January for 2 payrolls, and Elaine was pulling her hair out. Terry was in to help, and Lori was in from Nimerick, and pretty much convinced Elaine, and Elaine pretty much convinced me, and talked to Kathy about it, I believe independently, but that she would like to stay with the Nimerick system, and we'll take on the responsibility. It's enter it in once, come up with a warrant, pay the taxes, quarterly when they're due. That's something that's done electronically that I've never done, but get out from under on the payroll system. And we're still well within the window of that. We have 6 months to get out, but it's something that I notified them last week, that we didn't use them last week, we stayed in-house. And then if the board decides to basically get out of that contract, it's very easy to do. I just have to type up a note for Joe to sign, because he's the one who signed in. And we'll be back in-house.
So, in a nutshell, that's where we are.
In a nutshell, that's where you are. But as good,
That just seems so unusual.
well, we're doing it in-house anyway with this software
Right.
system, and because we have to duplicate somebody else's efforts, and it's not turning out right. It's always been a problem. I spent a year working with the retirement system trying to get the numbers straight, and that was all there was to it.
Sage,
And-
hasn't given us any idea why they can't, won't? They just,
No, we've got other software issues with them too, which are minor, but they do have some consequence. But since we're doing it anyway, we might as well do it in-house, make sure it's right, double check it, and punch it out, and that way it's already in the system from the get-go. But part of that conversation leads on to a much longer, we could spend all evening. You have someone who's being responsible for it, you have someone who's putting out these warrants and trying to keep up with the accounting, but she's only here 2 days a week.
That's
It's
a
not
lot.
on a steady schedule, and this really is,
Okay.
at a minimum, for somebody who's capable and qualified and well-trained, probably a 25-hour-a-week job. And especially when we're going through all these machinations of cleaning up past years and trying to get things straightened out. We've had issues with the CPAs, we've had issues with the auditors. The office is in under a little bit of stress. So I've been punching numbers here for the last couple of weeks, just trying to working with the CPAs and trying to figure out what they've come back with, but also trying to help on the warrants and work in the payroll system. The payroll is taking 3 or 4 hours too long. We'll just do it in-house, call it a day. Okay? It'll save us some money, but not much, but $70 a week or something, or every 2 weeks.
but it also
on the fee.
aggravation.
Save a lot of aggravation, and we will have.
Long-term, everything
We'll have
will
control,
reconcile.
we'll have
Yeah.
control of the numbers. If we're wrong, and occasionally we are, we'll own up to it. But it won't be somebody else that we're trying to make up for,
Right.
who doesn't answer
Yeah.
when you call.
So anyway, we need to, as a board, decide we want to get out of that contract, so that, and instruct Joe to do so, to notify Sage that we no longer
Yeah,
wish to
Yeah,
If they
participate.
that
can't
sounds
do
reasonable.
it so it's right,
They
well,
can't do it, so it's right.
so
And
I think we gotta get out of it.
it's easy to do. I mean, it took a motion to go in, it just takes a motion to get out, and I'll take care of it with Joe. And
I move that we terminate our relationship with Sage Payroll.
So I got,
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of terminating our relationship with Sage Payroll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So if you all can take care of that notification officially.
we will.
Members of the public, Ms. Angel, I guess, decided that she would wait and speak to us at another time, since Mr. Bostrom wasn't here today. The next one will be correspondence, which I added, which I'd like to do first, is the Grace Cottage Community Wellness. A letter has come through confirming the dates that they, that they
Events and functions.
would like to use the town resources, be it the common, be it the roads. See, starting on May 13th, that would be the 5K run.
Okay.
Friday the 9th, that will be the golf high low, that's in Haystack, so that doesn't impact
and I
us.
won't,
Right.
The Tour de Grace, which is the bike ride,
Right.
it ends at the common.
ends- Yeah, it ends at their lot.
yeah, but do they come now, still come down over West Hill, or?
Downhill, 17 mile, family and friends, raise money.
Starts in
Starts
Stratton,
Stratton, ends at Grace Carson Parking Lot. I don't
it's all
know.
on Route 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they use some of the side roads.
Do they?
I don't know what they use, Townsend side roads or not. That's one thing that I know they do, so.
Well, if they start in Stratton and end at the Grace Cottage parking lot, I highly doubt they're
And
gonna
if they
go.
have,
they
they're saying
come
it's
out-
mostly
they come-
downhill, they're not using Windham Hill Road.
I believe they go from Stratton over to the town hall down to Wadsboro and that way, but I'm not sure. And if they do, they could come up over East Hill into
Yeah.
Wadsboro, run on Townshend Dam Road.
Well, can we find out whether or not?
We can find out. My understanding was Route
It was
30,
all
because
30,
there were
yeah.
questions about, I mean, this is 4 years
Yeah.
ago, or whenever, when they first
But
started this up.
I know they were traveling a lot of town roads rather than Route 30. That's what the
Right.
question is.
We'll get what the, what they're posting for roads,
And that was
what the
August,
course is.
that was August 5th, and then we have October 11th for the annual poker walk. And that was starting.
That's on Route 35.
Rehabilitation, up 35 toward Athens and back to the common.
It's a mile each way, so it's about Deer Ridge or somewhere right in there.
Davis's.
So basically, they just,
But they still gotta have, there's gonna be people both sides of the road and everything with traffic, so
There
they're,
always is.
huh?
There always is.
Oh, yeah, no, I know there is.
Right, and
and then the other issue that they state is they would like to put up the banner on the common like they did last year. And-
which is okay, if they use the big cable across.
Right, they
That's
can't put
already
up,
there.
they can't anchor into the trees.
Right.
No, there's a cable, that's why that cable was
But
on.
they weren't originally going to do that.
Oh, really?
No. So, other than the questions we have on the bicycle ride, no, that was Saturday, it was July
We'll check the route.
8th. Yeah, please find out what, and then August 5th is the auxiliary Grace Cottage Hospital days.
Yep.
So yes, they're basically letting us know what their schedule is using towns and resources.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Never mind. And if you would get back to us on that one, so
Yeah.
that we can comment one way or another. All right, then moving on to the correspondence from the court. Our court case, just received notification from Vermont Superior Court that our hearing scheduled for Friday, March 24th, 2017 has been canceled due to the recusal of the acting judge. You will receive notice of the hearing when a new hearing is scheduled. And for the life of us, neither Craig nor myself can figure out what judge would have had any dealings with us that would feel they have to recuse themselves.
What is
In a
the-
normal world,
what's the
I'd find the
purpose?
time to dig into that one, because there's a juicy little story in there somewhere, and I have no idea, but there hasn't
What's the
been any
purpose?
recusal of the judge.
No, what's the case itself?
Oh, this is that,
It's an employee wage dispute.
Oh, this was
It's-
the lister.
It's a lister.
Auditor.
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 The,
Auditor, right.
yes.
Well,
So,
that's interesting.
yeah. So that,
So, anyway,
We
it won't
haven't heard
be,
it
So that's been pushed off.
yeah, and it won't be sooner than March 24th, it'll probably be.
No, it'll be way later.
Yeah.
well, which is a good thing because it gives me an opportunity to heal before I have to try to figure out how to get in the courthouse.
Since these are coming to you.
Yeah, my name's on these darn things. Okay, so then moving on to old business budget update, you all got a copy of the most recent
You should, yeah. there
budget
was-
status.
I think I printed it yesterday.
And looking through it, there's nothing that really jumps out and bites me, which is always a good thing this time of year.
Yeah, no, we're okay, 3/4, 75% of the way through.
Yeah, everything looked pretty much in line with.
There are a couple things, I mean, you recognize a couple things over, a couple things under, but basically in the wash, it's not bad. But this does not include tonight's warrants, so I mean, that's another thing.
Yeah, but there was nothing in there tonight that's going to throw
No,
anything
no, it's nothing big enough.
over the limit.
No. And another week or so, we'll get these out to departments, but there's nothing too. There's nothing too dramatic in the news.
Alright, so moving on to the annual meeting report. Craig and I do have a draft of the brochure, the flyer that's going to be mailed out to all the different all the voters in town.
Mhm.
We're hoping to get that out sometime early next week, because it has to technically be in their hands, I believe, by the 26th. Isn't it 10 days?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Actually has to be in their hands on Friday the 25th. Saturday the 25th. So it will go out sometime next week. It's
12 pages. Well, 11 pages in a blank, basically.
2, 3, 4, yeah, no, it's not right.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on a blank, so 11.
No. It has to be 12. Has to be
Well,
12.
12 pages, but one of them is mailable. The address page.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's 11 printed pages and 1 page of blank. 11 pages.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
So,
No, you didn't.
okay, well, I'm not. Looks like that.
I know what it looks like.
I know what it looks like.
I know what it looks like. But anyway, it has the 2 letters from our auditors and the CPA we've been working with. It's got our warning, which I did sign and is now officially on there. Our proposed budget for next year and the highway budget for next year.
Which agrees with the warning.
And then the social
Well done.
services report, and then the school warning. That's what's going to be mailed out to everybody this year.
And then that'll all get folded in half. And
It'll go like this, and then it'll be sticky taped together and go in the mail that way. Just so you all have a rough idea of what's going on. So that's the mock-up for that. That'll be going out. In your box, you had a thick package that is the planning commission's proposed new town plan. And you need to take this opportunity between these 2 meetings to take a look at that, see if there's anything that you have an issue with.
we need to schedule, and this is jointly with you and the planning commission, but a public hearing, and unfortunately, we're not gonna get it in and get it done this month. So it's gonna be sometime in March, probably 3rd week of March, there'll be a public hearing on this document. It's a year past due, it's out of date, the old one expired in 2016. This one needs to be done, the planning commission has worked on it, this is the mock-up. There will be amendments to it as time goes by, because the legislature keeps changing the rules on everything. So, but right now, it's about as good as it's gonna get. Take it home, have a look at it, and I'm gonna mail it out. It's mailed out to adjoining towns, and we'll set a date for a public hearing.
And how long is the duration?
It's gonna be 7 years now. It used to be 5, but
They're
they've
gonna
upped
say
it to
used to be
7.
5.
Yeah, it's 7 now. So that's actually good, except that by the time you get into the 2nd year, the rules have changed so much that you gotta add a few pages or make some amendments. But basically, the select board needs to sign off on it. It is a town policy document.
We've got, after the public meeting stuff, we gotta accept it or make any
Right,
recommendations.
but if you can have a chance to look at it before that public hearing or
Yeah,
give
no, I
any
realize that.
give any feedback to the planning commission, it's still basically in a draft form. I can get in and do anything that needs doing. But hopefully it's good as it is, and we'll just get it in print, and then we can modify it as necessary, as time goes by.
All right, so you all have a copy of that. Town meeting lunch.
I've spoken with Harmonyville. They have copies of their invoices from previous years. They're willing and able to do it. We haven't talked numbers yet. They haven't given me a menu yet to suggest. Last year, the town meeting lunch was provided through the generosity of the fire department. The fire department paid for it. It was a wonderful lunch, and we'll see how that goes this year. But we do have lunch in the process of being menued, I guess.
Being
shall we
menued.
say?
All right.
Catering quotes are forthcoming.
Meeting schedules, what meeting are we?
Just, there's an information meeting coming up and a regular meeting coming up, and of course, town meeting coming up. Just whether you want to combine those,
Combine which meeting?
The ones down under
22nd,
meeting schedules, the informational meeting on the 27th and then your regular meeting on the 28th. Do you want to have them both on the same day, kind of thing?
Isn't that gonna depend on what, after our unscheduled meeting with the highway foreman? Isn't that probably biting off more than we wanna chew to try to
Well,
meet with the public and then turn around and have a regular business meeting?
well, no, somebody called to ask when the pre-town meeting was, and the answer that went back was, well, it would probably be Monday, because it usually is, the week before town meeting. So it was tentatively scheduled for the 27th. I realized that on the 28th, you also
We have a regularly scheduled
a
meeting.
regular meeting, and you do have some things to talk about at a meeting with the moderator, if nobody else. So, I mean, generally, a lot of members of the public don't show up for that pre-town meeting. This year, there may be some questions as to the conduct of the meeting and the budgets and whatever. I don't anticipate that would take very long. I don't know if the school has an interest in participating much, but I know they have some things to talk about. And if you open up a joint meeting with the elementary school and the select board and invite the public, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna wanna talk about Act 46, or some people are anyway. That could go long, so you may not wanna double it up. But anyway, I just put it on here that under other business, you need to solidify that so I can warn the meetings accordingly and let people know.
Well, it also needs to go on the brochure that's going to be mailed out. If we're going to
Sure.
have, I mean, we need to note town meeting date regardless, but if we're going to have an informational meeting prior to that, we're gonna.
Right, and it wouldn't be a pre-town meeting, I agree with you. It's an informational meeting about
Town meeting.
town meeting and the workings for the next year, and
It's spring training for
you
town
get
meeting.
it. Yeah, and it's an opportunity for the board to talk to the moderator about how things need to flow, or
Right.
what to emphasize, not emphasize, who to thank, that kind of thing.
So what's your thoughts?
I'm inclined to think we should keep them separate.
I don't care.
You already got paid for this year, Rob.
Just
Burn
as
your
soon
feet,
not
come on.
come down and hang out every single night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say,
gonna be
That is a
Wednesday,
fair point.
Monday, Tuesday. Just morning.
give you a chance to absorb one thing without having to try and absorb something else.
Oh, I can absorb a lot.
You like a sponge?
Yeah.
Well, again, it's whatever you'd like to do. I don't really care one way or another.
I mean, if everybody wants to combine them, that's,
Well, I'm just a
Well, me
little
too.
bit concerned with time because again.
right, it
we've-
seems like it could be a long night.
Well, but not only that, but we've also pushed a lot of pieces of business kind of around on the table and not really addressed all of them. And since that would be the last meeting of this board,
And I will have every
Right.
possible warrant in front of you I can get in front of you,
we
because
need
pay all
to,
the bills, or at least,
we need to clean up as much as we can before Rob inherits it all the next day.
I make the
Right.
motion we meet on Monday.
I'm not
for
letting you
pre-town
not
meeting.
run again, so.
I said, I make the motion we meet on Monday for pre-town meeting.
Okay, so.
we're gonna call it an informational meeting for town meeting information.
Yeah,
meeting, but
informational meeting,
yeah.
I should say.
For Monday at 6 o'clock on the 27th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, so all those in favor, was there a second to that first?
Second,
Okay, all those in favor of holding an informational meeting on Monday, February 27th at 6 PM to discuss the workings of town meeting this year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? You're gonna vote?
I'm for it.
Okay, motion passes. So then the regular meeting would be the
The day
following
after.
night.
Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, then the other issue, is there anything else, any other business that needs to be taken care of?
I don't think so.
Okay, then, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Let me just ask her if you just wanna say something about that letter you
Oh,
dropped
yeah.
off, everybody's taking home.
Oh, is
got a
this
lot
from
of-
the,
Just real quickly.
There's nothing definite, but we got two of the representatives, one from Newfane and one from Wilmington, that wanna, looking into keeping the MRF going. Only it wouldn't be operated by Windham Solid Waste.
But it would use their facilities.
Use their facilities, you give them all a copy?
Yeah, everybody's got to, they haven't had a
I
chance to
know,
read
it's,
it.
the thing is, I guess Newfane checked into it, and it's gonna cost them $30,000 just to take care of the recyclables. So, we got a letter, it isn't, nothing's gonna happen overnight, but we got, between now and the 1st of July, they're gonna have to make up their mind.
But it sounds like some people are thinking outside the box and trying to come up with a solution to these problems for these smaller towns, which is good, and the district towns. Okay. I just wanted to get that in before
All right,
Kathy wrapped it up here.
then I will entertain a motion to find that premature public knowledge of the executive session material would place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage if it were to be discussed in public. I'll entertain that motion.
So
That's
moved.
okay.
Okay, and you second it, okay. So then, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of finding that premature public knowledge would place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage if it were to be discussed in public, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Then, I make a motion that we move into executive session under 1 VSA, section 313A1A, to discuss contracts.
so moved.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of moving to executive session to discuss contracts, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
That's gonna be at 7:25.
Mm-hmm.
You're inviting me or no?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Well, I'm not gonna do it alone.
Why are we tossed out?
Yeah, it'd be different,
She
wouldn't it?
doesn't have enough pills in the bottle.
No, I don't. Okay, so I don't honestly think we're going to come back with anything, Rich, that is going to be recordable. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
You're
He's got
welcome.
somebody to contact before this. Yeah. Already did, huh? She write back?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so we'll take about a 5-10 minute break. while Rich gets-